Leaving the Menin Gate brings us onto the massive ramparts that surround Ypres, and it's a sad truth that places that suffer through one war tend to suffer through future wars as well. If they're in a strategic location in one era, that will still apply in the future, and Ypres sums that up really well. It's famous for the First World War and the battles that went on here. It was also attacked very heavily in the Second World War. But these ramparts represent a much earlier conflict that went on here, because in the 17th century, this was the northern outpost of the entire French Empire. And so the military architect Vauban built these massive ramparts to protect the town. And by the time of the First World War, they ran right around the eastern and southern sides of the town. It didn't prevent Ypres from being destroyed, but the ramparts did provide a measure of protection, and today we can still see signs of that. Honeycombed throughout the ramparts in Ypres are rooms just like this one, which for centuries served a very important military purpose. Now this one, as we explore through it, now this was obviously a gun port. So in this room, when the ramparts were first built in the 17th century, this was for big cannons which could be rolled up to these loopholes and blasting away at enemies beyond to defend the city. But in the First World War, these rooms had a really important purpose, because the entire city of Ypres had been destroyed, had been reduced to rubble. The ramparts were really the only part of the whole town that hadn't been destroyed. So in rooms such as this one, important operations such as headquarters were set up. General John Monash, the commander of the Australian 3rd Division at the time, and later the commander of all the Australian troops on the Western Front, was set up in one of these chambers. But imagine what it was like. Shells would have rained down here every minute of the day. And imagine the noise, the concussion, the dust, the smoke. I don't know how they got any work done, how any battles were orchestrated, but this is where it was done, from chambers just like this one. And if we go further in, we find other rooms. It's a bit of a rabbit warren. This was possibly a well or a base for another gun. Perhaps that's been bricked in, that loophole. And another fascinating story about these rooms in the ramparts was what the men did here. Now, the town of Ypres was known by its French name during the war, Y-P-R-E-S, Ypres. But to the English tongues, that was a bit of a mouthful, so they called it Wipers. And during the war, they set up a satirical newspaper known as the Ypres Times, and it told funny stories about the goings-on of men, their life in the trenches, their life in the Ypres salient. And it was in a room just like this one that they set up their printing presses and produced the Ypres Times. It's just wonderful that rooms like this have been preserved, that we can visit them today.
I'm Mat McLachlan, and thanks for watching Living History TV. Don't forget to subscribe for more great history content.